This lab is the first of 3 labs that focuses on virtual networking. In this lab, you're going to learn about the basic of virtual networking and subnetting. You also learn how to protect your network with network security groups and application security groups. You will also learn about DNS zones and records. Let's say that your global organization plans to implement virtual networks. The immediate goal is to accommodate all the existing resources. However, the organization is in a growth phase and want to ensure that there is an additional capacity for growth. So they plan to implement 2 virtual network. The first one is core service virtual network and the second one is manufacturing virtual network. The core service virtual network has the largest number of resources. A large amount of growth is also anticipated in that network, so that a large address space is also necessary for that network. For the manufacturing virtual network, it contains systems for the operations of the manufacturing facilities. So the organization is anticipating a large number of internal connected devices for their system to retrieve that data. So there are 4 tasks that I will perform in order to achieve this. In the task 1, I'm going to show you how to create a virtual network with a subnet using the Azure portal. In the task 2, we're going to do the same thing. We'll create the second virtual network, but this time around using a template, and that virtual network will also have its own set of subnets. In the task 3, we're going to create and configure communications between application security group and a network security group. While in task 4, we're going to configure public and private Azure DNS. So this is my Azure portal, and we're going to start with task 1. So in task 1, we're going to create a virtual network with subnet using the portal. So again, the scenario is like your organization plans a large amount of growth for core services. So in this particular task, in task 1, I'm going to create a virtual network and the associated subnets so as to accommodate the existing resources and also plan the growth. In this task, I'm going to use Azure portal. So right now in my Azure portal, I'm going to search for virtual network and I'll click virtual network. So in my virtual network, I'm going to click on create button so that I can create a new virtual network. And now I need to select the subscription. So I have only one subscription here, so I will leave it that way. The next thing that I need to select is the resource group. I do not have any resource group, so I'm going to click create a new resource group. I will call this resource group AZ-104 RG4. Then I'll click OK. Then for the region, it will be East US. And the name of this virtual network is Core Services VNet. Core Services VNet, yeah. I'll go to the address tab. Now there's a default subnet. So I'm going to remove that one first. Now I'm going to change the IP address to 10.20.0.0 and I'll leave it like this /16. Then on the subnet, I'll click add subnet and I'm going to add 2 separate subnets. So the first subnet, I'll call it shared service subnet. Shared services. and the IP address, that is the starting IP address, is 10.20. Let me use .10 here, .0, and it's going to be /24. I'll click add. I'm going to click add subnet again. This time around, I'm going to add a new subnet. The name of the new subnet is database subnet, and the starting IP address should be 10.20.20. Yeah, .0, and it's going to be /24. Then I will click add again. Then I can now click review plus create. But before then, let's review what I've done. The name of the first subnet is share service subnet, and the second subnet is database subnet. And this is the address range of this subnet. And this is the IP address range of this virtual network. So I'm going to click review plus create. So it's running through the validation right now. And the purpose of this is to check if everything is in order. It's running through the validation, and once it's ready, we will continue. Now click create. So it is initializing the deployment now. So as you can see here, it's saying what deploy. So it's going through the process of deploying the virtual network now into the Azure. So while that is going on, let me launch my whiteboard, because I would like to actually sketch what I'm doing and what I've done, so that we can have a proper understanding of whatever it is that I configured. So here's my whiteboard. I'm going to click on the pencil tool there. So I'm going to draw a rectangle. This is to represent the virtual network that I just created now. So I'm going to give it a name. Remember the name of the virtual network? Do you remember? Or do you want us to go and confirm? Let's go and confirm again. So I'll go to this place. Look at it. Core services VNet. So I'm going to make sure that this is actually inside this location. Then remember, there are two subnets. So in order to check those subnets and other information, now that the virtual network is ready, I will click go to resource. So now we're going to confirm what we configured, if it's in the right order. The name of the virtual network once again is called service VNet. So if I come to the settings, I'll come to the subnet, and I will see the subnet that I deploy, shared services subnet, and what database subnet. So I'll go back to the drawing. So I have shared services subnet, and I have the second one, database subnet. Okay. Now let me go back to the portal. Now from here now, I haven't checked this. I need to export the template of this VNet because I want to use the template to create another VNet. So where will I go to do that? I'm going to look for export templates, and that one I will find it in the automation section. So now it's going to generate template for me. So as you can see, it's generating the template now. So in few minutes or seconds if possible, the template should be ready, and after that I will have opportunity to do whatever I want to do with the template. Now the template is ready, so I will go to download. I want to download this template. Look at the name, exported template AZ-104 RG4. So I'm going to go to my download section. Here is the template file that I just downloaded. So I'm going to click on it and go to extract all. So now I should have the two file parameters and templates. So these are the file now that I will go ahead to edit so that I can create the second one. Now I will click on the template.json in order to perform the task 2. Remember, in task 2 we are going to create a virtual network and subnet using this template. So in this task I will create a manufacturing VNet and the subnet that are associated with that VNet. So for this task I'm going to use template like I said earlier to create those resources. So what I'm looking for now is template.json file. I will right click on it and I will open it with a notepad. You can use any editor of your choice, but for this demonstration I'm going to use a notepad to edit this information. Remember, what's the name of that VNet that we generated this template from? That VNet is tied to the core service VNet, and that's what you're seeing here. So I'm going to change the name of the virtual network first. So I'll be using Control H to edit this particular stuff. So I'm going to search for core services VNet, core services VNet, and I'm going to replace it with manufacturing VNet. I will say replace all. You see, that will replace it. The IP address also, I'm going to adjust the IP address. The IP address for this core service VNet was 10.20.0.0. Do you remember? So I'm going to look for that IP address 10.20.0.0, and I'm going to change it to 10.30.0.0. I want to see this is 10.20.0.0. So what I want to do now is to click replace all. You can see now it's now 10.30.0.0. Next, this next I need to change the two subnets. For that particular VNet that we generated this template from, we have two subnets. The first subnet was shared service subnet, and the second subnet is what database subnet. So that first subnet I'm going to change the name. So what I'm looking for now is shared services subnet. Shared services subnet. I want to replace it with sensor subnet 1. sensor subnet 1, and um, this is it, shared services subnet. So if I click replace all, I should have sensor subnet 1. Also, the IP address of that subnet is 10.20.10.0, right? 10.20.10.0. So I'm going to change it. So I'll go to 10.20.10.0. 10.20.10.0. I will replace it with 10.30.10 10.30. Let me use 20.0. Then I'll click replace all. See, that's 10.30.20.0. The second subnet is database subnet. For database subnet, I want to replace that one with this one, sensor 2. That's sensor subnet 2. Sensor subnet 2, and I'll click replace all. This this is what I'm looking for, database subnet. So I'm going to use replace all so that I can now have what, sensor subnet 1 and sensor subnet 2. The IP address for that database subnet was 10.20.20.0. This is it. So I want to search for it, .0. Then I'm replacing it with 10.30.30.21. 21.0, and I'll say replace all. Yeah, that's it. It's working perfectly. So now that I've finished what I need to adjust in this template.json file, I'll click file and I will save the file. Then I will save the file. I will close the file definitely. Then I'll go back to the same location. I have parameter JSON file. I'm going to open the same parameter JSON file now, and I need to change certain things. For instance, look at this, call services vnet. So I'm not going to use that definitely. So I want to change the name. So I'll call it manufacturing vnet. So I'll just use a Control H. So what I'm looking for is call services. I'll change it to manufacturing vnet, and I will replace all. There's it. Then I'll click file and save. I will move back now to my Azure portal. From here now, I will search for deploy deploy a custom template. This is a service that will allow me to deploy this template. So I will search for that service now and I'll click on it. Now I'll go to build your own template in editor, or here is where I can edit the template. I'll click on load file. Now go to downloads. This is the location I'm going to, and I'm going to load template.json file. You can see, remember, this is the information I edited. So I haven't done that. I'll now click save. So what I will do now is to click on the review plus create, and I will click create. So right now it's through with the validation. I'll click create. So it's actually initializing the deployment, and the deployment is actually going on. So I'll go back to the drawing. Remember, I have the second VNet. So I'm going to draw the second VNet again. This time around it will look like this. So the name of this VNet is manufacturing VNet. Then I have two subnets. So what's the name of that first one? Um, let's go back to the portal. Now I'm going to click on that resource group. Here is the manufacturing VNet. Now in the manufacturing VNet, I will go to the subnet, and yes, sensor subnet 1 and sensor subnet 2. Sensor subnet 1. So sensor subnet 1 and sensor subnet 2. Okay, let's move to the task 3. In task 3, I'm going to create and configure communication between the application security group and network security group. Now, the purpose of this application security group and network security group is to filter the kind of traffic that goes in and out of this virtual network, and by extension, so the resources that are connected to the virtual network. So in this task, I'm going to create an application security group and a network security group. The network security group will have an inbound security rule that allows traffic from the application security group. And the NSG will also have an outbound rule that denies access to the internet. So the first thing that I will do is to create application security group. So application security group, that's what I'm looking for. This is application security group. Now click create so that I can create an instance of the application security group. Now the first thing is the subscription, and the second thing is the resource group. I'll pick the existing resource group. The name of this application security group is ASG-web. This is the application security group to filter web applications. And the purpose of application security group is for web server. Application security group take care of web servers when it comes to filtering information, all those stuff. So I'll click review plus create. So while that is going on, it says in progress, right? Yes, validation passed. Then I'll click create. So let me go back to this place, and right now I have what application security group, right? So I'm going to put application security group here, just something to represent that. So remember the name, ASG Web, ASG-Web. That's the name of the application security group. Okay. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is that I'll go back to the same portal, and I'm going to create the network security group now. So I'll come back to this place, and I'll click on the search, and I will search for network uh, security group. So now that I have my network security group, all I need to do now is to click on create button so that I can create a new network security group. And as usual, the first thing is the subscription, then followed by the resource group. The name of the network security group is my NSG, my NSG secure. Then I will go to review plus create. So while that is going on, I'll go back to this. So I will draw the NSG. So I'll draw down somewhere here. The name is what? My NSG. My NSG secure. Now I'm going to divide this NSG into three. Although there are different things you can do, there are a lot of things you can do under this NSG. Okay, let's go to the resources first. So I'll go to the resource. If you notice under the NSG, if I come to the settings, I have inbound security rule, outbound security rule, network interface, subnet. These are the things that I can link, or this is where I can implement rules, or I can also connect this NSG to other resources. So what I will do in this instance is that I'm going to create rules, definitely inbound rules and also outbound rules. But I need to link this NSG to a particular subnet. So I'll come to the subnet, but before I do that, let me go and bisect that diagram. So I'm back on the diagram now. So I'm going to bisect it into three. 1, 2, and 3. So this one will represent the inbound. That's the inbound security group. This one will represent the outbound. And this one will represent, that's the final one, will represent the subnet. Now let me go back now. I'll click associate here. So I'm going to associate this NSG to virtual network. Which virtual network? Core services virtual network. And the subnet that I will link it to is share service subnet. Why is it asking me to connect to the subnet? Because I click on the subnet. It simply show here that I want to connect this NSG to a particular subnet. So I'll click OK. So it's ready. Let me go back and also update that information. So what we have done now is that I'll come to this place, and this is it. I've linked this. Yes. Now let's go back. Let me now configure inbound and outbound rules. So to configure an inbound and outbound rules, I will start with the one to allow ASG traffic into the subnet. That is the one that will allow traffic from here into what? Into the network security group. This is going to be an inbound. Let me go back and do that. So in order to do that, I'll click on the inbound security group, and I'll click on add. But before I do that, do take note that we have default rules. Now these default rules, you cannot change them. You cannot delete them. You can only override the existing rule. So I'll click add the source. That is, where is this information coming from? So for the source, I will click on the application security group. So the source can be from internet, IP address, my IP service tag, but this time around from the application security group. And which application security group is going to be ASG web. And for the range, it's going to be asterisk. For the destination, it will be any. The service is going to be custom, and the destination port range is going to be port 80 and port 443. 80 stands for HTTP, 443 stands for HTTPS. Remember, the purpose of the application security group is to secure your application. So when we're talking about application, we are referring to so port 80, port 443 is one of the way by which you can access application on our server. And you know that that is the protocol for web application. So for the protocol, it's going to be TCP. Action is to allow, and the priority is 100. And the name, I'll just call it allow what? ASG. Then I'll click add. So it's creating the rule now. That's the ASG rule. It said created security rule is there. So I'll go back to this place. Now there's a link now between the ASG web and the inbound. And what is that link? The link is that I have a rule called allow what? Allow ASG. So I'll quickly come here and I will just put it there, allow ASG, and that is how we successfully link the ASG, that's the application security group, with the network security group. So the next thing I will do is to configure an outbound NSG rule that deny internet access. So I'll go back and I'll click outbound security rules. That one also contains default rules. So I'll click add, and the source will be anywhere. The purpose is to make sure that there is no internet on the resources. So anybody accessing the resources anywhere cannot run anything like that is internet based on the resources deployed on it. So the source will be any, the source port range should be asterisk, the destination will be service tag, because I'm actually trying to limit it to a particular area, and the service tag destination is going to be the internet. That's what I want to target. And the Service is going to be custom. The destination is going to be 8080. The protocol can be any. Action is to what? Deny. And the priority now is going to be 4096 or anything higher than the existing one, because there is one that allow that internet. So what I can do now is to allow just to create a new priority to override the existing one. The name is going to be deny any custom 8080 bound. Then I'll click add. So it's creating the rule. I'll go back. So we now have the outbound security group, right? And the outbound security group, let me write it here. What's the purpose? What's the title again? Deny any custom 8080. So deny any custom 8080. So that's the outbound security group. You remember now that what we are simply saying is that any resources deployed into this core services VNet is going to have what? Is going to have this outbound and these inbound rules. That's basically what we are saying. So basically the next thing now is to go ahead and install a virtual machine and connect that virtual machine now to the ESG. Let me just quickly show you here how you can do this. So I'll go now to the Azure portal. I'm going to search for the virtual machine. I'm going to create a virtual machine. I'll call it VM1. So as usual, the subscription is this, resource group will be this, VM, I'll say is VM1. Is the region is what? East US. Availability option is what? This. No infrastructure redundancy. Then the image is going to be Windows. Yes, Windows Server 2019, and the size should be this. Then I'll call this one Azure user. Then for the password, so for the public inbound none. Remember, I'm going to connect it to the NSG later. So if I go to the networking now, the networking is what? Core services VNet, and with VNet now can be what? Shared service VNet. The reason why I changed that subnet to shared service subnet is that the virtual machine is going to have a link with this particular ASG, and this ASG is already linked to what? My NSG secure is an inbound rule there, and my NSG secure already connected to the shared service through the what? The NSG subnet. So I'll go back, and I think that should be all. So yeah. So I think I can just click review plus create. Then I will click create. It's deploying the virtual network now. So so I'll go to the resources that I just deployed. What I would just want to show you now is how can you now associate the ASG to this. Go to the networking, and under the networking you will see application security group tab. Then I can add application security group, and I will check the application security group and I'll click add. So you successfully updated the network interface. So what I have done now is that I've connected the application security group now. So that will automatically change this. So at this point now, I now have this. This is virtual machine. So I'll call it VM1. And there is a link between this and this. Yes, there's a link between this and this now. So if you are in your own environment, you want to do more, you can even create more virtual machine. For instance, this virtual machine will narrate the NSG. Remember the inbound rule and the outbound rule, which means that it's already connected to this. You can create another virtual machine now that will be connected to this one. So for example, I can quickly do that, right? So let's quickly do that. Let me go back now and create a new VM. This time around, that's a new virtual machine. This time around, I will call it VM2. I'll call it VM2. So for this place, it's going to be this. And here, I'll call it Azure user. The password, I'll just change it. And for the networking, this time around, I'll change it to what? Manufacturing VNet. And in the manufacturing VNet, we'll leave it like this sensor subnet 1. That's all. That's all. Then you can do what? You can now click review plus create. What is still showing right now is that the validation is running. So it's running the validation underground. I'll click create now. So let me go and update the diagram again. Now I have another VM. This time around it's called what? VM2. And this VM2 is tied to where? It's tied to this. You can see the connection now. So this VM2 is only for this, while this VM1 has an inbound and outbound rule. One of the inbound rule is to allow this ASG to be connected, and also for the outbound is to deny port 8080 when it comes to outbound. That is somebody that wants to access the internet on the server, and it's actually connected through the subnet of the NSG to the VNet. So let's go back and see it's still deploying the virtual machine. But once that deployment is ready, so can click the resource, go to resource rather, and right now we have what? The second virtual machine. Now I want to check something here. I want to check the IP address. Here is the public IP address of this virtual machine 172.191.155.234, and here is the private IP address. So I'm going to note these two IP addresses. So the first one, 172.191, right? So the IP address here is what? I'll write it somewhere. 172.191. Let me confirm the remaining. .155.234. .155.234. And there's also a private IP address, right? So I'll go to that's 10.30.20.4. 10.30.20.4. So 10.30.20.4. So it's picking this IP address from here. If you look at the IP address we set for this sensor subnet, you know that is in that range. Now, what about the IP address for the VM1? Let me go back and get that one. .192.191.76. 52.191.191.76 dot what? 244. 244. And the IP address is what? The private IP address is 10.20.10.4. So 10.20.10.4. So I will need this IP address, mostly one of them, I think this one. So we're going to see how I will use this IP address later. Now I'm moving to the task 4. That's the final task. And in task 4, I'm going to configure public and private Azure DNS zones. So in this task, I'm going to create and configure public and private DNS. For the public DNS, you can configure Azure DNS to resolve host names in your public domain. For example, let's say you purchase a domain called, let's say the domain name is delany.xyz from a domain name registrar. You can actually configure Azure DNS to host that domain name and resolve it. So what I'll do now is that I'll go back to the Azure portal and I'm going to look for DNS zones. My DNS zones. So I'm going to create a new zone. So the name of the zone will be delany.xyz. Then I'll click review plus create. So it's trying to validate it to see if anybody have used that domain in the Azure. It's actually going to check set validation pass. So I'll click create. So we're going to wait for this to be ready. Then we'll move on to the next step. So it's submitting the deployment. So it's actually also deploying. So information is saying it's submitting and it's also deploying. So we'll wait for a few minutes for the deployment to be ready. So from here now, it's saying deployment is succeeded, and it's also saying the same thing here. So I can move to the resource now. Then I'll go to the overview section of that resource. In the overview section of the resource, do you see the name server given to this domain just added to the Azure DNS. Look at the name server. So this name server now, I can link it now to any resources or any other domain. Now, what I will do now is I will copy one of them and I'll go to record set. So I'm going to create a new record set. I'll click add, then the name of the record set will be www, that is www.delany.xyz. The type will be a record, the alias will be, I'll leave it this way. Time to last will be 1. The major thing now is the IP address. I'm going to use the private IP address of this virtual machine. So you can use public IP address or private. If it's something that is going to be an internal application, use the private IP address. For the public application, use the public IP address. So I'll just use 10.20.10.4. 10.20.10.4. Then I'll click add. You see, that's it. That's the new record set. So I will go to the CMD. I want to go and confirm if it's actually, working properly. So I'll type ns lookup. There's ns lookup space www.delany.xyz. Then this. Look at it. It has resolved the delany.xyz www to what? To this IP address. So this is to confirm that name resolution is actually working correctly. Now let's talk about the private DNS now, and how do we configure that one as well. So I will type the private DNS here, private DNS zones. Now a private DNS zone provides name resolution services within virtual networks. So a private DNS zone is only accessible from the virtual network that is linked to and can be accessed from the what? From the internet. So it's only within that virtual network. That is where the private DNS will be accessed from. So I'll click create, and I'm going to, then for the name, I will say private dot delany dot xyz. Then I'll click review plus create. So it's running final validation. Okay, validation passed. I'll click create. I'll wait for the private DNS zone to be ready. So it's submitting the deployment, and here it's also telling us that it's deploying this private zone DNS or private DNS zone. So deployment is in progress. Let's wait for a few seconds. Anywhere from now, it should be ready. So I'll go to the resource. Yes, this is the overview section of this private DNS zone. Do you notice that there is no server records there? It's because this is a private DNS zone. For the public DNS zone, we have those records. Now I'll come to the DNS management, and then I will select virtual network link. So I want to link this private DNS zone to a particular virtual network. So I'm going to link it to manufacturing. So the name will be manufacturing link, and here it will be manufacturing VNet. Then I'll click create. So it's creating the private link now. So I think it's ready now. Yeah. So what I'll now do next now is to go to the record set, and I'll click add. You know, this time around now, I can give it a name. I can call it VM2. Remember, the VM that is linked to this place is called VM2. There is it. So it is this VM now that I want to link. So it's going to be VM2, and the IP address of that VM2 is what? 10.30.20.4. So 10.30.20.4. So it will now be what? vm2.private.delany.xyz. I'll click add. So again, in the real world scenario, you will have to enter the IP address of a specific manufacturing virtual machine, and that is what I have done. I added the IP address of what? VM2, which is in the manufacturing VNet, is actually connected to the sensor subnet 1 under the manufacturing VNet. So in form of a review, the first thing I did was to create a virtual networking, and I call it core service VNet with two subnets. Remember those two subnets name? Yeah. Let's go to the diagram. We call them share service subnets and what? Database subnet. After that, I now exported the script of this virtual network, and I use it to create this. So I edited the script and I use it to create a new one called manufacturing VNet with two subnets, sensor subnet 1, sensor subnet 2. Then after that, I created an ASG web, that's the application security group called ASG web. Then I also created a new NSG. I call it my secure NSG. Now this application security web, now I link it to the my NSG secure through the inbound. Then I also created the outbound. I'll call it deny any custom AT-AT. Then I now link this NSG now to this VNet through the subnet of this NSG. I link it to a particular um, subnet, which is shared service subnet. Then I now created two VMs. One, I connected it to this side to this ASG, and the second one I connected it to this. And the final task that I performed was to show you how to implement the DNS zones. So I created the DNS zones, uh, www.deline.xyz to point to this IP address, and this IP address is for what? Is for this virtual machine. I also created a private DNS zone, and is to point to what? To this virtual machine. I call it private dot no, vm2.private dot delany.xyz. Thank you for watching. If you like what you saw, consider subscribing to this channel. Please let me know what you think in the comment section, and do not forget to leave a like and share this video. See you in the next one.